This is Coach Tamara here from Wealthy Woman Every Day, and I am so excited to share these success stories with you. Not only will they inspire you, but you will learn so many different strategies for growing your own dream business. So listen and be inspired. And if you have a success story that you would like to share, feel free to click on the link below and watch also a little bit more about being a part of Spotlight on Your Success. I will share your success story in my book, on my podcast, on my live stream that runs 24/7, and now on my TV shows. So to learn more about how you can become part of this amazing project, go ahead and click the link, or you can go to wealthywomaneveryday.com/spotlight dash on dash your dash success. I look forward to sharing your beautiful success story as well. Well, hello, wealthy women. It is Coach Tamara here from Wealthy Woman Every Day. I have one of the most important and inspiring interviews to bring to you today. And I really want you to really absorb all of the information that we're going to share together, because it will profoundly change the way you approach every aspect of your life. It is that important. This is foundational work, and it sometimes can get passed over, but it truly is the key to everything that you want to go ahead and achieve in life. It's going to set you on the right path. And without saying anything else, I will just go ahead and pass over the mic and camera and tell us who you are. What is the name of your business? What do you do? And then what is the big why for your work? Why does this matter so much to you? And how do you help women transform their lives?
Thank you so much, Tamara. I am just so excited to be here. My name is Lee Smith. I am the owner of Upcycle Coaching. And upcycle is a fun word because it means to process something so as to make it better than what it originally was. And this is the experience that I love to give my audience, that I love to give my clients. You come in one place, I take you through my process, and you are so not the same person you were when we start the journey together. I'm also the founder of G3 Mastermind and the G3 Creator Circle. And this is an online space for high achieving women. And as a mindset and self-talk strategist, I make it possible to reframe the imposter syndrome, that inner critic that's always telling us the things that we don't like to hear about ourselves, and to reframe that into actionable confidence. And I do that with my 5-step proven candy method. That is my acronym for clarity, affirmation, necessity, discipline, you. And I use that to rewrite your self-talk so that you can live boldly into your life, whether it's your work, your relationships, and the work that you do. And I do this because this was part of the journey that I went through myself, where when I became aware of a 2-year depression that I had been enduring, and I said, enough is enough. This is not who I really am. And I took the time to get to the core of who I am. And then the steps I did to get myself out of it, that just naturally became my candy method. So now that's the foundation that I take out into the world and serve the women.
I love this so much. Can you talk a little bit more? When we first were introduced to each other, it was amazing what you were talking about, the type of talk we have going on in our heads and how that can really be so, we can be so unaware of it, but it can affect so much. So can you talk a little bit more about the whole self-talk and, properly setting yourself up for success based on just the words that you use and why they're so important?
Absolutely, absolutely. And to give just a couple of instances that why does this matter so much? And for me, the journey goes back to when I was a little girl. And I played a game with myself. And I'm the oldest of three. And I played a game with myself where I would take this mirror and I would stare and I would stare and I would stare. And the funny thing happened was all of a sudden, all I could see was my dad. I wasn't looking at myself, I was looking at my dad. And then I would hear my dad's voice, and he would say all these things. Oh, Lee, you're so smart, you're so amazing, you're so capable, you can do so many things. And later in life, he would still continue to talk to me and say, you're going to be a leader. And when you're in your teenage years and peer pressure might want to take you another way, you're going to be the leader that steps up and you're going to lead others into a different way. And I thought, okay, well that was kind of a fun voice. And I thought, well, that was interesting that I could just see my dad. I'm like, oh, I wonder if I could, can I just see my mom? And so I took the mirror and I would, I shook it off, and then I looked at the mirror again and I stared and I stared and I stared. I'm like, I want to see my mom. I want to see my mom. And sure enough, I could see just my mom. And then my mom's voice entered my head. And well, my mom was a tiger mom, a tiger Asian mom, and it was, when are you going to be good enough? You missed a spot. Why can't you be so and so? And I thought, oh, okay, I know I don't like that voice, but yes, I made that work. And then I questioned, what does my voice sound like? So I shook off, the image of my mom, and I looked at the mirror again, and just looking at myself, and I thought, well, what do I hear when I focus on me? And I did hear my own voice, and it was, I am lovable, I am capable, I can do things when I put in the effort, and I really focus on it, and I like to have fun in life. And I thought, okay, I like my voice. I like my own voice. And I thought, but I want to focus on the things that I do say to myself, because I had two examples that were very, very different, right? And while I love my mom, I didn't necessarily like that kind of talk, right? So I always focused on the positive talk. Now, fast forward years later, and I'm on a holiday with my family, and I'm standing on the beach of Hawaii, and this was one of the most incredible sunsets I had ever seen. And my husband was out ahead of me, uh, doing his love of photography, and he's trying to capture the light just right. And my young teenage daughter was next to me, and we were having a tender moment. And my stepson, who was grown and out of the house but was with us on the holiday with his girlfriend, was off to the other side, and they were having their sweet tender moment. And I'm looking out at this golden orb setting on the jewel sapphire horizon. And I'm thinking how this is so incredibly beautiful. I'm thinking how wonderful it is that I'm here with my family. I'm thinking, who gets to do this? Because it was so amazing. It was actually a 23-day vacation on the four islands. And I was thinking, not everybody gets to do this even once in a lifetime on one island. And I was thinking, and I was thinking, and then I caught myself thinking, I'm only thinking, I'm not feeling this moment. And it was a whoa. And then I started the internal conversation with myself that this is not who I really am, what is happening right now. And I continued my thinking where I'm just I'm just covered in what I call just. And yes, that's dust with a J. And so it's like particles in my hair. I am just a wife. I am just a stay-at-home mom. I am just a stepmom. I am just a daughter. I am just this shell of a woman who no longer knows who is Lee Smith. And so in that internal conversation, I made a decision, and I said, this is not who I am. And if I don't know who Lee is, well, that matters. So when I get home from this vacation, I'm going on a quest. There's a new year right around the corner. I am going on a quest to figure out who is Lee. And it really wasn't a discovery or exploration. It was a
Mm.
remembering who I am. And out of that, I I worked myself out of the depression, and it was ongoing self-talk. It was so important. When I woke up in the morning, it wasn't just about what am I feeling today or what's the to-do list or anything like that. It is who am I being today? Who am I becoming? How am I wanting to show up in the world? And if that's how I want to show up in the world, what do I need to do to make that happen? And I realized I I fell in love with public speaking at the ripe young age of 8 years old. And that little girl, she came back in my mind and she said, "Hey, remember that feeling we get from public speaking? Let's go chasing that again."
I love
Thought, oh my gosh, yes, that's what I want to do. I've been, fulfilling my dream of being a stay-at-home mom, and this journey has been so wonderful, even if I did forget myself for the moment. But my daughter's getting ready to graduate from high school at that point, and I thought, oh, I didn't think about the empty nest. Yes, what do I do with myself? And it was like, oh yes, let's go chase that feeling again. And so it was thinking about, okay, well, what does that look like? And
it.
what does that look like as building this entrepreneurship? What does that look like as the story and the message that I take out into the world? What does that look like for the type of life that I want to create? And then what does that look like if I'm building a business as a business model, not only the structure of it, but then what kind of revenue do I want to be looking at creating? And that became my step of clarity. I had to get clear not only on what makes me happy, what makes me come alive, but then how do I want to show up in the world? What do I want my life to really look like? And then I thought about, well, words are so powerful. What words do I need to carry me into that? Words like thrive and elevate and excellence and progress, because I did not want to get caught up in the perfection mode that so many of us try to do, perfectionism. And I said, no, I just want to go for it and make it happen. So thinking about those words and focusing on the, I can do this. I may not know everything about this industry or how, but I know a lot of who's, I know a lot of books and mentors that I can grab onto. So I just need to believe that I am capable. And with my 3+ decades of understanding personal development, I understand that the words that we create to take us into the journey, they need to be tied to our future successful self. And we're borrowing the belief of that woman who's done it already. She has done all the things that right now I might be scared to do, because I'm thinking, am I really enough? Am I, what do I know? Uh, can I really do this? But when she's already done it, I just borrow her belief. And that is so important. And then when I looked at the, okay, what's the best next step to get me closer to that goal? And that became my necessity path, because that unfolds the roadmap, the blueprint that we just take that next step. And while a roadmap and a blueprint, it sounds like you've got the whole journey. No, you don't have to have that. It's just the very next few steps. You don't have to see the whole staircase. You just
Right.
need to know the next 2 or 3 steps. And then once you have those pieces, they're so important and so essential. But if you don't do anything with them, nothing happens. And that's where the discipline came in. It's about taking action. And again, even if your inner critic is saying, you're not ready, or who are you to do that? You've never done this before. So what are you doing? And it's no. this is important. This is what matters. I already see the success. I just need to put myself closer to that and close that gap. And so taking that bold, adventurous step and just welcome the opportunity of what's going to happen. And it's amazing when you do that because you will find there's a greater energy that is supporting you. That greater energy you might call God. That greater energy you might call the universe. That greater energy you might call divine intelligence. Whatever label you put on that, that's fine. But there's a greater energy that will have your back. And then once you take that bold step, or even if it's a baby step, because I will tell you from when I recognized the depression, getting out of bed and moving to the corner of my couch, that was a win. So it can be something as small as that, or it can be something as big as I'm going to put my name in the hat and we're going to see what happens from this. And no
Yeah.
matter what, it is a learning experience and celebrating that effort and putting, you put yourself out there and looking at yourself in the mirror and saying, I love you. I see you. I celebrate you. And it's so important, those inner conversations, because you need to be your biggest cheerleader every step of the way.
You
It's
do.
so, so
Absolutely.
important.
Wow. I mean, what a beautiful journey of transformation. And a couple key pieces while you were speaking that I held on to that I wanted to share with you women out there. If you are feeling this, I love the fact that you were in Hawaii looking at glorious skies with your beautiful family, everything perfect, not a thing to want in the world. And yet you sensed something was still missing. I want for all you ladies out there that you look around at your life sometimes and you're like, I have the house or I'm safe, I have the apartment, I have friends, I have this, I have that. And but you're feeling a little off and you sort of guilt yourself saying you don't have a right to feel bad. Look at all that you have to be grateful for. Others are much less fortunate. So what is your problem? We can do this to ourselves. But I want you to not do that and realize that you can still be grateful for everything that you have and also listen to that call within you that's unsettled. And what you were saying where you kind of got back to you yourself and the way you did it is so beautiful, but it's almost like you'll know when you are in the right spot. It almost feels like you have your feet in the beautiful soft beach sand and you're wearing your favorite pair of jeans and you feel so grounded and strong and confident. And there's is an essence to that. And along life, we at times will feel that way. And then we maybe get taken away from it for whatever reason, but that's yourself calling you back. So I just really want to emphasize that because here you had this experience of everything was wonderful. What is there? What more should I desire? I have everything wonderful, but it
Right.
is okay to desire more. And you women, please listen to that because it's leading you somewhere more. And that's the whole point of life in general is progress, right? To keep
Yes.
becoming more, just becoming. And then another couple things that I love that you said, and this is so important about you only need to be a couple steps ahead, really, because, and what came through my mind when you were saying that is imagine you want to take a road trip from Florida to California. Can you see the entire road from Miami all the way to San Diego? No, you can only see a couple, maybe stoplights in front of you. So why do you need to have the whole road map? Just think about it like if you were on a road trip, you can only see so far and then you just keep going. Once you get there, you do the next. So you don't have to put that much pressure on yourself. And that just really I just kind of wanted to speak to those two things because I think it's really important what you're saying. Oh, and then the third thing, sorry, this is so important. When you chose what you wanted and were ready for it and ready to receive, absolutely true women out there trust the universe, God will conspire to bring it to you. You have no idea myself where I was enjoying my business journey and I was feeling a nudge, like there was something more and I couldn't figure it out. I got on my meditation mat. I said, God, I love everything. I'm so grateful, but I feel like something's missing. Literally in 3 seconds, I got a divine download and it was like, and it led me on the next path I was most supposed to take. So I just wanted to kind of piggyback off of what you were just saying, because these are really profound moments and we can't push them aside or ignore them or feel like we're not entitled to discover and research them and go with that, right? And so
Yeah.
in the way that you're speaking about talking to yourself and how that also brings energies, the better energies to you when you're in a high vibe moment, it's so powerful. And then the other thing that you also said, a little to-do list check thing, and that's okay. If every single day you're doing something to get yourself going forward, even if it's something that only took you 10 minutes, but it still moved the needle forward, that's okay. Because you're going to have those moments where you want to sit at your computer for 15 hours and just get it all going because you're so inspired. And then there are days it'll be like, oh, I got maybe 20 minutes in me. I can't, just not feeling, and that's okay too. And so just allow yourself to keep moving forward. That's one of my favorite suggestions, and it's definitely a motto I live by, right? And give yourself the credit for it too, and
Yes,
don't worry about what you didn't accomplish. Focus on what you did accomplish. And so
absolutely.
everything that you're doing, and Lee, this beautiful I want so many women to go and do this mirror exercise. It's absolutely beautiful. And even, those that are definitely spiritually connected, you can see God in that mirror, whomever is your soul's connection. And
Yeah.
imagine God speaking to you and saying how amazing you are and all of the things, or whomever, whatever resonates with you. Love this, really, this whole focus you have going on. So
Yeah.
this is your mission, this is your journey to help women to come over such things as imposter syndrome and pull themselves up, because you yourself have done it. And so, like, you went through the experience and figured out the keys to the castle and know how to help and lead others, right? Like you're saying.
Yes.
So what is one of your most favorite experiences that you have when you're working with your clients and you see transformations in them? Is there a specific thing that you find many women struggle with more than other things? And then what does it feel like for you as their leader to kind of help them break free of that, like that experience, and like the big why of you, why are you doing the work that you're doing, the passion that you feel in your heart? If you are a woman business owner, then go ahead and get some free visibility for your business. I am offering you the chance to not only be in my upcoming book, but you will also be included in my podcast compilation, my 24/7 YouTube live stream compilation, and now even on my TV show on Roku and Amazon Fire TV. All you need to do is go ahead and click the link on the bottom of this episode, or you can just go to wealthywomaneveryday.com/spotlight dash on dash your dash success. I am so excited to share your success story and get you the visibility that you deserve. Go ahead and click on that link today.
Yes, it certainly, I love finding women who are just like me, because just like you said, I was standing in a moment of perfection, right? That beautiful paradise. I'm surrounded by people who love me. And so by many definitions, I was experiencing success, what we call success. And yet there was something missing because I was struggling internally, and whether you call it a lack of fulfillment, a lack of clarity. It was certainly a lack of, who am I? And and so when I'm working with those women, where whether they're in leadership positions as managers, executives, what have you, and they're experiencing the success in their roles and they're receiving the accolades, and yet when they're at home at night and they're looking at themselves in the mirror before they go to bed, and they're looking at themselves and maybe wondering, who am I right now? I've done these things, I have these things, but who am I really being? And why am I not smiling at that face in the mirror? And so those, if you're an entrepreneur and you're going after and doing the things for the dream, and again, you're looking at yourself in the mirror and you're thinking, well, yes, I'm building a business. I'm amassing six figures and beyond, and yet there's still something that just it's not fully aligned. And I heard this terminology from a fellow colleague. I think she said something along the lines like she's like a mental chiropractor. And I thought, oh my gosh, what a fantastic metaphor. It's like, yeah, when things aren't fully aligned, it's just let's
Need an
get that
adjustment.
alignment, get that adjustment. So we have the alignment there. So inside of my mastermind community, what I get to do is take you, we have a conversation about what is happening right now, what is the problem or the challenge that's arising for you, what is making that a problem, and how is that impacting your life, so that we can really dial in what is it that you see needs to change. And where does that come back to in regards to the self-talk? So when you're listening to your inner voice, what is it telling you? And so is there something there that maybe is like just spouting the fear, and so now you're having hesitation or procrastination showing up, or you're telling yourself, well, what if they see that I'm a fraud? Well, now we're touching on imposter syndrome. Um, I just keep hearing, oh, I'm just not good enough. I'm just not good enough. And so, whatever that inner critic is saying, it's like, okay, let's vote off the inner critic from the board. And let's
Yeah,
really
yeah.
make you, the real truth of you, be the CEO of your mind. And
Yes, love
I've
that.
put I've put this into an amazing framework, and this is one of those divine downloads that happen in my
Mm,
experience. And so hopefully you can see this okay. And
yep,
I
reactor. Mm,
Yes, I look at, maybe you're being a reactor right now. And the reactors are the ones who hear those voices and they just immediately respond to that, they react
mm,
to that,
mm.
and in whatever way. And it might be an emotional reaction, it might be an action reaction, and that maybe isn't in the best light. And again, that's showing up as procrastination, a hesitation, maybe a shrinking, maybe it's people pleasing. Maybe it's, oh, I'm just going to keep myself busy. And so whatever, however that shows up, really it's seeing yourself
Yeah,
in a way that you feel stuck in the middle of all the things. It might be the expectation of yourself. It might be an expectation of a relationship. It might be an expectation of this is what society demands of me. It might be an expectation of others, if you've got superiors, this is what they expect of me. And you just see yourself stuck in the middle. And in my mastermind experience, I let you take a moment to step out from the middle of all those things and see yourself for who you really are. And I call, why the G3 mastermind, Lee? Well, the G3 is because I believe you have three G's, and those are your genius, your gifts, and your greatness. And G3 instead of saying 3G sounds cooler. So that's why we have G3 Mastermind. But when you take yourself out, and I do challenge you, I do a lot of mirror work. Look at yourself in the mirror. Can you make eye contact with yourself and see yourself for the beautiful creature that you are? Not gray hairs and fine lines and wrinkles and blotches and what. No,
yeah.
we're not looking at that. we're looking at, look at this incredible human being, this amazing woman who is so brilliant and has her genius and has her gifts and has her greatness that is unique to her. I liken it to a cell phone number. We have 8 billion people across the planet, and 95% of us have a cell phone in our hand. That means so many of us have the common digits 0 through 9. And yet, no two cell phone numbers are exactly alike. Fascinating, right? And
Like
so it is with
snowflakes.
and that's how it is with your three G's. Your genius, your gifts, and your greatness make you, you, make Tamara, Tamara, make Lee, Lee. And I help you to see that. And then when you do that and you put yourself first, and that's not a selfish thing, that is an essential thing. Put yourself first. That's where the magic happens, the transformation happens, because then everything else aligns. We have that
Yeah, that's
adjustment,
fabulous.
right? And
Love.
you become the creator
Yes.
and you see what matters most. You see what becomes the necessary priorities. And this lets you see your boundaries so that you know what to say no to, so that you can say yes to yourself, to the right things, and to your business. And that's where the self-talk becomes powerful. The reactor is so much, with the inner critic.
Yeah.
And the inner critic is not evil, or I don't see it that way. There is a necessity for it, and
Yeah.
it helps us to appreciate the positivity that we can bring. And
Mhm.
it's shifting that subconscious identity that maybe started way back in your life. And it's a false narrative. And what's beautiful is you have the power within you to change that narrative. Like I did working through my depression, and I spoke to that 8-year-old who was in love with public speaking. That's the core of who I really am, that I have a calling. It was placed on me way back then to take a
Yes. Mhm.
story and a message out into the world. And when I discovered this download of the Reactor Creator
Yeah.
framework, I thought, oh, and I went through so many books and courses looking like, is anybody else teaching this? And they are, from Tony Robbins and Mel Robbins, Marie Forleo, so many, Jack Canfield, so many of our thought leaders out in the world. They will talk to you about the principle of you have an amazing human superpower. It's called the power of choice. You can choose to react or to respond. But
Yes.
I
Mhm.
I created this framework because it's what I saw, that you can be a reactor or a creator of that response that brings you to show up as the best version of yourself, whether it's with your thoughts, with your feelings, your behaviors, your habits, your everything,
Everything.
right? And
Everything. Oh my
the life
goodness.
that you the
Yep.
life that you want. So it's creating the morning. What does your
Yep.
morning look like when you wake up in the morning? Creating the environment in which you do your work, creating the best relationships, but most importantly, creating that relationship with yourself. And so my heart is so full, Tamara. It,
Your
it's so full
passion
with
is
like this
contagious. Yes.
that this is what I am meant to do. And
Yes, you
because I
are.
know
Absolutely.
that I
Yes.
can bring out of you that clarity of who you are meant to be and what you are meant to do, and then help you shine into your three G's, your genius, your gifts, and your greatness. And then when we do that, not only are we connecting as women, we get to collaborate together
Yes.
and
Mhm.
celebrate one another. And when we're doing that, we create so many positive ripple effects that we don't even see. We don't
Absolutely.
even know, but it's so powerful and it's so needed. And even though I've been doing this for a number of years now, and maybe I encounter those hard days, there is no quit in me.
Yeah,
I
it's
don't,
your mission. That's why it's
it
your
is.
mission. You'll never
Yes.
tire from it, and it's
No.
something you will do for the rest of your life. That's how I feel
Yes.
about it as well. And it was so different. You realize, like, oh wow, we've all had jobs in the past, whether they were office
Oh,
work or waitressing when we were younger, all the things, and they were
yeah.
great. There were jobs, we got paid, and that's great. But when you find your purpose, you don't even think about ever wanting to stop. And you sometimes cannot shut your brain off. And I love the whole reactor and then the C and then it becomes the creator. And it made me really think while you were speaking about how that definitely covers every single aspect. It made me want to just also touch into the fact that sometimes there's a lot of overwhelm that women business owners experience, or women in general in corporate jobs or motherhood or whatever it might be, that you hear a lot about, like adrenal fatigue and hypertension and all of the things. And when you were saying that, because typically that adrenal fatigue and hypertensive situations happens because we're reacting from a stress point.
Yeah.
And if you can just if there's a moment that comes up in your life, ladies, that you're initially triggered to react, that could raise your stress, fight or flight, adrenals, and all of the things. Try and use that mnemonic of reactor to creator, and just take control of it, because you do have the choice, just like what you said. And while you were saying that, because I found sometimes, like, I would have an overdone reaction to stress sometimes that was unnecessary. And I was finding myself, I could almost feel like sometimes the blood pressure would rise in me. And I obviously, we don't want that, right? And so,
Right.
similar to yours, I came up with my own. That's why I was grabbing something. And I said, oh my God, that's fantastic. I want to, like, I'm coining this so nobody can steal this term, but I want to create a book maybe even one day. And I wrote down, your response is your response ability, meaning you
Yeah.
have the ability to respond better. So your response is your response ability. And when you did your, reactor creator, it just, oh,
Yes.
let's talk about that, because you know, we women, that perfectionism kicks in and everything's supposed to line up. And sometimes we just get so overwhelmed, and we're in our bodies, but not in a good way.
Yeah.
We're just like not catching the fact that we're putting stresses on ourselves, or we're not making the boundaries that are necessary to make. And we have to prioritize that. So even if you can look at the reactor creator in every aspect of your life. But if you find sometimes that you struggle with, like a knee-jerk kind of stress response, try and breathe, bring yourself
Yeah.
back to center, and remember, you can create instead of react. So glad that we kind of
Yes.
got into that. And I think that's very important, because I know a lot of us, we're very emotional in a good way, because we have such big hearts and we want to help and be of service and have, our communication land properly. And sometimes maybe it's not received in the way it's intended, and things can get, the wires can get all mixed up. And I know, like, I'm remembering a coach of mine. She's a multi-millionaire, and she's so successful, but she said she really had to work on triggers, like, with her team or with
Yeah.
her own self, what she required of herself. And again, it's sort of like, just be gentle and love yourself, and breathe. And nothing is as big of an emergency as you think, and you can just take little steps to proceed properly and in a way that's gentle and loving. And so I just wanted to kind of pull a little bit on that, because I thought that was important, because I know there's a lot of women that do kind of get into that adrenal fatigue and
Yeah.
overstressed response, taking on too much. The perfectionism kicks in, and then the happiness starts to fade, and really we
Right.
can pull that back and create the life we want. And that's what you're helping women with. So I love this so much. Okay, I'm going to switch over to some success questions now, and
Yes.
just kind of get a feel for, like, some of the things that you do to really position yourself for, creating that life that you are living, that you desire. So let me just grab my glasses here. I always like to start because probably because it's the morning thing. Do you have, you mentioned just a minute ago, but like, do you have a specific morning routine that you do every day that really sets you up for a powerful, positive day for yourself? Yeah.
Yes, yes. And I love thinking about the morning routine. And my philosophy is about it's I don't necessarily focus on when you wake up. It's how you wake up.
Yeah.
And because I will never claim to be a morning person. So you
Mhm.
will not find me in the infamous 5 a.m. club that so many like to spout about at times. And I get it about waking up before everybody else, but really it's about the how. And so yes, for me, when the alarm goes off, I call it hit the alarm, hit the floor. And so
Yeah.
that means we're not hitting the snooze button, right? Because hitting the snooze button is a reaction. So it's being reactive to that. Oh no, I want to go back to sleep. So I focus in on like, okay, let's turn off the alarm, and my feet may not necessarily hit the floor, but that's kind of my attitude, if you will, because the next thing that I go into is gratitude. My my eyes pop open and it's like, oh, I'm still here. It's another day. And that means it's another opportunity to either better myself, do a little deeper work on myself, or it's another day I get to show up and serve and love on somebody. And it's
Yeah.
that's a privilege and an honor. And I really try to make the most of that. And then I'll move into gratitudes for other things because it might be, oh my gosh, this happened and I'm still so excited and grateful for that.
Yeah.
Or oh, I'm thinking about a certain person. They pop up in my mind or in my heart, and I'm grateful for them. And then I'll make it a point later in the day to actually send them a message in some sort. Hey, I was thinking of you today. Thank you for being a part of my life. Or this popped up and it touched my heart. So I just want to say thank you for that. And I'm always grateful for my husband and my family, because I'm so blessed to have such an amazing relationship with my two kids, and with my husband. He's my best friend
I
and
love
my rock and my biggest cheerleader. So I'm grateful every day that I have with him. So, you know, hitting the alarm, moving into the gratitude, and then I need to take care of my body. And hydration is the number one thing. So the first thing, if it's not already by my bed, I am going to get a large glass of water, and I call it wet the body, wet the mind. So it's WET the body, WHET the mind. Because
Ooh,
when we
like
take
that.
in when we take in the hydration, and then we're getting the oxygen to our brain so that we can get into the tone and the motion of the day. It's like, okay, let's go. Speaking of motion, that's the next part is moving my body. And it might be a series of stretches. It's not necessarily my full workout. I have that time blocked maybe at a different part of the day, but it's getting the movement and warming it up. So releasing the stiffness and
Yeah.
just getting the flow so the energy flows in the best way possible. And then the last part is thinking about, all right, now that I've done the things to take care of myself, what's what's either the top three or the number
Mm,
one priority today, so that once
mhm.
I do that, everything else continues to move. And that's
Yes.
part of my routine. And then I will come to my desk, review my schedule real quick, and then I go to task. So that's my
Then
morning routine. I believe
I
it's so
love
important
that.
to have the routine.
Yes.
Again, how do you wake up? Not necessarily when you wake up, but if you're part of the 5
Yes.
a.m. club, I cheer you on.
Yeah. I tried it for a while, but yeah, it just, you know what, it wasn't, it's not that I love the idea of waking up early for the
Yes,
quiet, and that's not the problem. the
right.
the problem was having to go to bed at like nine
Right.
o'clock, and I'm like, wait a second, I usually eat dinner at 8, so I'm like
Right.
7:38, and I'm like, I can't go to bed. It's just I needed the TV time and the wind down time,
Yeah,
so it was really about the bedtime I would need to do to get my 8 hours. That was the
so
problem
true.
for that. But
Right.
I love that though. And so another thing we touched on, maybe without you don't have to share the whole of it, but we spoke a little bit about manifesting. What is your opinion overall about manifesting? And then maybe you can just give a little tidbit of something that you just manifested the other day that you definitely
Yes.
brought into your universe. So
Yes, yes. I love the idea of manifestation. I was so tapped into that as a teenager that I didn't know it was called manifesting. I didn't know the term, but it was exactly what I was doing because I was so active in my youth group and the youth ministry that there were retreats every month and that cost money to go, and I was the weird kid. I didn't ask my parents for money. I just said I'm going to figure it out, and because I could get babysitting jobs, and I thought, oh, okay, if I get three babysitting jobs, that will give me the payment I need to get so I can go on that retreat, and I can be a speaker at that retreat, or I can go and attend and I can learn even more. And it was so funny because I'll be like, oh, I wonder, and it would just come. And the idea behind manifestation is here's how I look at it. If a desire comes into your heart, it's out there. It's
and it's
already
meant
out
for
there.
you.
It already exists.
That's right.
And it's a matter of where is your attention and your
Mhm.
intention going. And when and it works as simple as this a very popular exercise that taps into what we call the reticular activation system, which is an actual spot in your brain. That exercise is look around the room. How many things as you look around the room are yellow? And you visually look
Mhm.
around all the different spaces and you're like, oh, that's yellow, that's yellow, that's yellow, that's yellow, that's yellow. And then you come back and then the facilitator says, okay, now tell me how many things were red. And you go, wait a minute, I can't tell you how many things were red. I was looking at the yellow. You get what you're looking for, right?
Mhm.
It doesn't mean the red things don't exist because look around the room now and see how many red things exist.
That's right.
Everything is there. And so if when you look for the things that you desire, you'll be amazed at how they come into your life. Now, just thinking about it isn't going to make it happen. When you are putting forth the energy, it raises a vibration that attracts that even more, and
Yes.
it shows up in your life. And it's a matter of not just the desire, but it's becoming the person who is ready to receive that,
That's the
to,
word. Receive.
to
Yep.
see, to really, really see that. Because we can say, I want, I want, I want, I want, I want. The funny thing about I want, it indicates you already don't have it.
Lack.
And
Yep.
so want keeps it at bay. There's a scarcity.
Mhm.
Desire keeps you in a place of growth mindedness, in a place of abundance, and then
Mhm.
it's a matter of, are you ready to receive it? And it's a vibration that you put for yourself. So when I was ready to receive that opportunity to participate at the retreat or speak at the retreat, guess what? My calendar
Yep.
overflowed with babysitting opportunities and I had the
Yep.
money to do the
Yep.
things, right? Today, it's about where's the next platform or the next stage where I can show up and serve. And the conversation that Tamara and I had was I was at a launch meeting for a group of women who just launched their own television network. And I thought, oh yes, I get to make it to the launch party. And one of the gals said, well, we're going to do a drawing to celebrate. We're going to have a drawing today to celebrate this massive launch. And I thought, oh, okay, well, I asked myself in that moment, do I want to be a part of this drawing or do I just want to celebrate who gets to win? And when I heard the prizes, there were three different prizes, and there was really only one that I wanted. I'm like, oh. I do. I really would like to receive that. I'm like, wait a minute. I have a lot of clutter going on. My vibration isn't right. And so it was a conscious effort of like, okay, wait a minute. Let me make sure my vibration is ready. And it was the self-talk of like, yes, I am ready to receive this. And I took care of my environment and I not only my external environment, but my internal environment. And I said, universe, I am ready to receive. And
Yes.
and also when you can accept the playfulness of the universe, because I can tell you so many stories about this. But what happened then was she pulled the name out and it was a different name. It was close to mine. It was
Mhm.
Linda instead of Elise. And the moment she said Linda, I looked up and I said, that's not right. And I knew that it was okay because Linda was already participating, so she already was involved in the prize that was being given. So the ticket drawer said, okay, I'm going to give you something else, but because you already have this, so I'm going to pick another name. And sure enough, as she picked it up, I said, now's my time. Now's my time. Here it is.
No.
And sure enough, she said my name and I unmuted and I screamed with delight. I'm like, that's me, that's me. And
I
I said,
love this. Yeah.
that's how you do it. But even in that instant, I could have gone, oh, it wasn't me. But I already knew it was such a knowing that I was in full
Yes.
alignment
Yes.
with
You
that.
knew.
And I accepted the playfulness and
Yes.
being open to that is so important too. So everything that you desire, it already exists. It just
Hmm.
might be a red instead of a yellow. So
Absolutely.
instead of focusing on the things that you don't want in life, where's your attention and intention going? And aligning your self-talk, your internal environment with that, checking in, what's my vibration right now? Because when your frequency matches the frequency of the thing you desire, it cannot help but appear.
Yes,
It's amazing.
exactly. And that is why women out there, it is very important with what you consume. So pay attention to make sure you're consuming very positive things. I know that even Lee and I spoke, like Zig Ziglar was one of my favorites. And I remember like 12 years old, 15 years old, I was determined to read all the positive self-help books, Norman Vincent Peale, Tony Robbins, Zig Ziglar,
Yes.
Ogmandino, all the classics. I didn't want junk in my head. I didn't want to watch the news because it was always kind of, and it always will be and it always is. Now, you can catch glimpses, of course. No one's saying that we should have our heads in the sand, but you do really need to make a conscious effort to focus because what you're saying, what you focus on grows. And it is so true. Every aspect exists. So you can even think about people. Just imagine somebody in your life who's always focused on a negative. Oh, that didn't work and this didn't work. And they somehow continuously have more negative experiences compared to maybe somebody else who's always so happy and positive and skipping down the street and they're having better experiences. It's not 100%, but you sure are lining yourself up better for those experiences to just be receptive. And that's the whole thing. You have to be ready to receive it. And so when I say if the desire is in you, it's meant for you. It's meant for you
Yeah.
because that desire is you. Not everybody has that desire. That's just for
Right.
you. For some reason, that's your desire. Own it. And then realize it does exist. Like Lee was just saying, just you have to see it and not the opposite of it. And then I always like when I really want something, I claim it. I claim it. It's like I declare it. And so when you get to that point of wanting and are ready to receive, where you declare it is yours, you claim it as yours, of course it's going to happen. So I just love that. So, okay, one more question before we sign off. Maybe two more questions. We'll try and do it a little bit. I think there's two important ones. So,
Sure.
you are a gifted public speaker. You have desired to be one since a young girl. Most people run the exact opposite way, right? So this is
Yeah.
great because people need you to help them with that. That being said, so many women business owners now, we all know it. We all were afraid. We had to do our first Facebook Live. We had to go visible. We worry about our appearance and all of the things. And then we can stop ourselves from getting our message out there because we're, again, with the whole perfectionism, imposter syndrome, just downright fear of being on a stage and speaking. What would be your suggestion to those that are, new at it, haven't done it yet, feel very uncomfortable? Do you have a couple tips for them so that they can get, past that initial understandable stage fright, basically? So,
Yes, yes. Well, the real simple answer to that is
oh,
just go do it.
that or imagine everybody in their underwear, right? So,
Right, right. Just go do it.
don't
Because
do it. Be the
I
opposite
went
of Nike. Don't just
right.
don't do it.
Right. When I thought, okay, I'm shifting from this chapter of stay-at-home mom raising my kids into, okay, I'm going to take the stages, and it's just, where are they? Just let me get on it. But yes, I have that inner confidence of like, I just want to do this. I understand that most people would rather face death
Yeah,
than an
that's what
audience.
they say. That's how bad public speaking can be for some people. And I get it. Yeah.
Yes, yes. And so, wow, let's see. A lot of guidance that I, because there are so many avenues in which you can do this. And the mindset that I do, because even though this is a passion of mine, I'm not gonna lie, I still get nervous. I still get the nerves every once in a while. And there have been only a couple of times where my palms don't get sweaty ahead of time, my heart doesn't race. When that happens, believe it or not, I'm actually more scared. I'm like, what is happening right now that I'm so calm and so reserved? It's like, whoa, what? This is a whole different thing. But it's so extremely rare. And I just accept that is part of my nervous system that's getting excited. And that's okay. That does bring up the key. That feeling, the sweaty palms, the heart racing, maybe a little bit of hyperventilation, the butterflies in the stomach. What is the meaning that you are giving to that experience? Oh my gosh, it's stage fright. I'm so anxious. It's like, I'm just going to fall apart up there. And I'm just so afraid. I'm so afraid. I'm so afraid. Or look at me feeling so excited right now that my hands can't help but sweat, that the butterflies can't help but jump around in my stomach. I am so excited.
Yeah.
So, what is the meaning you are giving to that? Second thing, where is your focus?
Mm.
Because where your focus goes is where your energy goes. And if you are focused on you, oh my gosh, I'm so nervous, I'm so afraid. What if I trip on the stage? What if I forget what I'm going to say? What if I blurt out the wrong thing and now they're laughing at me? Or, whatever that fear happens to be, what's happening right now? The focus is on you.
Yeah. Mm.
Why are you speaking? Well, my boss told me I had to put this presentation in front of my team. Okay. Or this is part of my business to promote and market myself. Okay. You're not showing up for you in either case.
Mm.
You are showing up for the people who are going to receive the presentation or the story and message that you're giving. Put your focus on them.
That was the key for me when I made it not about myself and I said I'm here to serve, and if I don't show up that means I didn't get to help somebody, and I can't fail somebody that might need me and my message, and I have a responsibility to them. When I made it completely about someone else, all of the fear was gone. And then just a couple times practicing, like I remember about the second third time I was over it. So the first like 1 to 3 times for me at least were a little bit, the first time of course, second time a little bit, by the third time I'm like, what was I worried about? This is nothing,
Right?
and now it's so
Right?
common, so it's a little bit easier. But that's Fabulous advice. Yes, exactly. You
Mm.
know what you're saying. I love that. Really, really good.
Mhm.
Was there another point to that, or it was these two main?
The third point I was going to make is the real truth, because what you're listening to and the fear, it's a narrative, right? And it might be inner critic related, but it's a narrative that you're telling yourself. If that narrative is not supporting you, it's sabotaging you. So let it go. Just real
Yeah.
quick on that. But the real third point that I want to mention too is that whether it's the team, maybe if you're part of a leadership and you're doing a presentation, or it's an audience that you're speaking in front of, I promise you, 99.99999% of the time, they are there to support you. They
Yes.
want to see you win. And if there is a tripping on the stage, it's happened. If there's a
Yeah.
moment you forget what you're going to say, it's happened. I have not been hit with tomatoes,
Yeah.
and I certainly have not died on the stage.
Exactly.
That's not
Yeah.
going to happen. And so even if a hiccup happens, and if you forget, you can say, wait, I lost my track for a moment. Give me just a second. Typically it comes back, or you can divert it to a different direction, and that's okay. Your audience, whoever they are, they see you as human, and
Yeah.
believe it or not, that makes you more relatable, and it's more of a
Yes.
win. They are there to support you and to see you win. They're not
Absolutely.
there. Nobody comes into an audience like, oh, I can't
Yeah.
wait to see
Exactly.
Lee mess up. Oh, I'm just going to be looking closely for that. And I've got my tomato ready.
And
Here we go.
even if that was the case,
Nobody
that's
does
not your
that.
people, so don't worry
Right.
about them, right? Those are the
Right.
trollers, and we don't need them. They,
Yes.
whatever. But yeah, I love
Yeah.
that. And you know what? If I remember correctly, you were saying replace the fear with excitement when you get the sweaty
Yes.
palms and the heartbeat and all the things. And actually, excitement is the exact opposite, same body chemistry as fear.
Yes.
So you
Exactly.
can substitute the word fear for excitement, just like you beautifully did. And, kind of brings me back. I remember back in college, I took a speaking class in front of like all of my, college peers, and I was so nervous. And I remember I decided I wanted to show everybody by demonstration that there were 12 teaspoons of sugar in a Coca-Cola. And so I went up to the demonstration, podium, put the Coca-Cola empty can, poured it with plain water, and then I proceeded to do 12 teaspoons of sugar into the can. But my nerves kicked in, so it was like I was shaking. There's sugar falling all over the table, and I'm like, oh my God, I got to do this 12 times. I mean, it was ridiculous how much my hand was
Right.
shaking. And I said, oh my goodness. So, I mean, I can relate to the fear, but that was a long time ago. Okay. So
Yeah.
one more question for you that I think that women that want to grow their businesses would love a little advice on is when they're first getting started, and let's say there is no budget for anything, and they feel so overwhelmed by all the things they're supposed to do. Could you, give them a couple ideas what you would suggest about where they should really focus their attention to get the word out about their business without too much overwhelm and without needing a budget, basically?
Yeah. Well, the best way to get yourself out there is definitely speaking. Speaking is just one of the most powerful ways to market yourself. And look, I would encourage two things. One, if there is some type of mentor, someone who is already doing the things that you want to do, and can you build a relationship with them? And oftentimes when you go and approach that person, Tamara, I really admire you and what you're doing, and I would like to pursue a similar thing, and I see you're already doing it. Could I ask you some questions, or would you be willing to mentor me for this initial period? And most of the time, they're going to say yes, or they might direct you to a resource. If they're not willing to do it themselves, they might be able to direct you to a resource on that. And I call it, when you find that person, I grabbed their coattails, the proverbial coattails. That's what I did when I started speaking, is
Yes.
I saw somebody who was shifting gears from her career into speaking. And she's like, I'm just going out and speaking. And I'm like, oh, well, I want to be doing that too. And so she was only literally just a couple of steps ahead of me. And I held on to her coattails until oh, I think I've got this. And then
Yes.
I was doing
That's
it
great advice.
myself. And so
Absolutely.
finding that mentor is key. And then network. If you're not already networking, begin in your hometown. I know we have the whole world at our fingertips, but
Yep.
begin in your hometown and go research all the different networking groups and find a networking group that you feel like you vibe with. You like the people, you like the mission of that particular networking, you like the culture of that particular networking group, and then get to know the people around them. And you can do cross referrals, like someone is in an industry, you have your industry, and it's like, well, let's build that relationship where we can support one another. And then if they have speaking opportunities inside of that network, hey, would it be okay if I share my message? One is practice on, I want to test the market.
Yeah.
Does my message land? And the more that you do that, you're building these relationships that are supporting you. You want a good, strong support. And then, speaking for free initially, that's where you've got to start, especially, you're going ground zero. And, where can I practice my message? And be be convicted of your message. Again, it's not about you. It's about that impact and the value that you are bringing. And you will find out of that when you do that, that it is infectious, it is contagious. And there's typically one to two other persons in the room at that point who will hear that from you, and they'll say, oh, I really want that message in my group, in my
Yeah.
organization. And it continues to branch from there.
Does.
And
It
and then
does.
you're able, and then the more people that know you, and they're like, oh my gosh, you've got to get to know Mary. Her message is so incredible. Have you heard it yet? And so you're going to want her to speak. And then you're like, okay, well, enough people have heard me speak for free. I
Yeah.
know the value that I'm bringing. It's time to monetize that. And then you move in that direction.
I, that's fantastic advice. And what I love about it, it's helping businesswoman build her skills of communication without the overwhelm. It's the networking, the referrals kick in, that confidence kicks in. And then, yes, it's just like a perfect launch pad, really, to go forward. That's fabulous advice. And yeah, and even the speaking clubs, right? Like Toastmasters and so forth, if
Right.
you need to improve your speaking skills and so forth, like that. Okay, this has been so amazing. You have really delivered gold in really from the start to the finish. I'm so thankful for everything that you said. I'm so thankful for the even the exercises that you shared that you do personally that they can go ahead and replicate and start to create all of that. But what I would love is for you to please share, where can all of these beautiful women find you to find out more about your work? So your website, you have a school platform, and just your
Yes.
name again, and then yeah, just I of course will leave this all in the details, but just so you can share it right now. So
Yeah, well, again, thank you, Tamara. I really, really appreciate that. And before I share those details, I'd like to share a couple of examples of some wins that I've been able to create. And whether it's doing a 15-minute power session or a hot seat mastermind, some of the wins that I've been able to create. I love Janine, who had she has a promotional. Items business, essentially the swag, right? So simply to put it, is
yes,
a
yes,
swag company.
like the
And, yes, and we worked together. We worked together in my mastermind setting for 12 months. And at the end of the 12 months, she said, Lee, I finally sat down and I looked at my books. And she said, because of the work that I've been doing with you, she said, my company grew by 30%.
Wow,
She
fabulous.
said, my profit was just amazing. She said, I just went and implemented, the things that you gave me from my self-talk to how to be productive with my day, discerning what is the top priority, and then putting you gave me the courage to put myself out there and I grew by 30%. That was just so amazing. And then another gal, Jennifer, she's like, Lee, I've been doing these webinars again and again and again, and I haven't cracked the sales. And I said, oh, okay, well, let's talk about that. What are you ready to receive? She's like, I'm ready to receive the sales. I said, are you really? And we got down underneath it, and then we looked at some of the language that she was using in her presentation, and I gave her some keywords. And the very next day, she went and did her webinar. And 2 days later, she messaged me, Lee, I got 2 sales. I've been doing these webinars for 2 years with
Wow.
zero results. And she said, and based on your work with me, she said,
See,
I got my first webinar sale. And I'm like, fantastic.
I,
And it was a change in her self-talk and her mindset. And then we changed some of the language that she was using in her presenting. And so it would kick in and then we got the results. So these are the fun things that I get to do inside of my community. And on the school platform, it is G like go, G the number three, mastermind.com. And I have a gift for you if you are listening right now, because I do really focus in on that self-talk. I'm aware of so many of those negative things that we say to ourselves, and I have reframed them into what's the empowering statement, right? So that we're not looking at the brown, not to say that brown is ugly, but we're not seeing the ugly things when we're looking around. We're seeing the beautiful things that are going to serve us, right? So I have put together a PDF what I call don't say that, say this. And it's a PDF positive self-talk guide. So you can always have it in front of you so that until you get into the natural habit of
yeah.
saying the negative, saying the positive things, being able to catch that negative thing that's running through your mind, flip it and rewire with that positivity. And you can grab that at rewriteyourselftalk.com. And that will bring you into my world. We'll get to open up a conversation, whether it's through email or booking some time together. And you'll have an invitation into the G3 Mastermind. And that's where you can find out more about me, this lovely community, and the work that we get to do together. And I want to see you win. And I like to say, I see you and I celebrate you.
Oh, I love this. You are an amazing woman. You have
Thank
such
you.
a beautiful mission, and so many women already blessed by your work will continue to do so. And uh, please reach out to Lee. She is such a joy, and she can really help you center in on really how you view yourself, how you discover yourself, how you speak to yourself, all of the things that are going to really set you up to receive the success you want in your life. Let's take that shortcut, and you don't have to zigzag the whole way. You just need some really good tools that will stay with you and help you get there in a more enjoyable way, in a quicker way, in a more prosperous way in all aspects of your life. So, thank you so much, Lee. This has been just a beautiful interview, and I know that this will just bless so many people. So, all
Thank
right,
you.
wealthy women, like I said, it was going to be such an inspiring, beautiful interview with so many key points that you can, start doing right now, So, and Lee, what I might even do is with the PDF that you're talking about, if it's okay with you, I will also add it like to the
Sure.
description so that people can just read it immediately and get like that whole focus for themselves as well. So I will get that for you. For those of you who are going to look for it right away, just give me a few minutes and I will get that done as well. And then until the next time, just go for your dreams, keep moving forward, and listen to yourself. And even if it's small steps every day, it's okay. Just keep moving forward towards your dreams and bless those and serve those and be enjoying the journey and making it the best for yourself. So thank you so much. See you next time. Bye for now.
Bye.
And let's see. Okay. Oh my goodness. Here we go. If you are a woman business owner, then go ahead and get some free visibility for your business. I am offering you the chance to not only be in my upcoming book, but you will also be included in my podcast compilation, my 24/7 YouTube live stream compilation, and now even on my TV show on Roku and Amazon Fire TV. All you need to do is go ahead and click the link on the bottom of this episode, or you can just go to wealthywomaneveryday.com/spotlight dash on dash your dash success. I am so excited to share your success story and get you the visibility that you deserve. Go ahead and click on that link today.